I never imagined a wrong number would lead to a heartbreaking love story. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced like it had a mind of its own. The world felt sharp, edges pressing into my mind. I was a mess, tangled in pain. I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, hoping that a text could pull me from the darkness. When the screen lit up, a number I didn't recognize blinked back at me. It was an odd combination of numbers, two of them sticking out like a sore thumb. I hesitated, heart pounding, a curious ache blooming in my chest. What if it was a mistake? What if it was meant for someone important? The tension hung heavy in the air. Something inside me begged to respond. Hey, this isn't who you think it is. My fingers hesitated over the keys. But I pressed send, and then a surge of adrenaline hit me. The silence that followed felt monumental, as if the universe held its breath for what would come next. Minutes ticked by, each second stretching painfully. And then, a reply. I wasn't expecting a text back. You must be someone special. It was playful, almost light, and almost felt like a balm on my ripped heart. I could picture him on the other end, smiling, brown hair tousled, eyes sparkling with mischief. My thoughts spiraled. Who was he? What was his story? There was a world of possibility behind those words, and my heart started to pull me toward the mystery. My friends had told me to be careful. Every time I left the house, my mother said, "Be safe, sweetie." I felt her fear seep into my bones. I was piecing together a relationship that wasn't even real, a phantom love born from a dazed moment. So I built on that little thread of connection. I wasn't ready to let go. Night after night, we exchanged messages, little pieces of ourselves, and every text felt like a door wide open to adventure. But with excitement came fear. What if it was all a cruel joke? What if heartbreak lurked in the shadows, waiting to pounce? Every response from him was sweet, but it felt weighted now. The dread pressed down on me. One evening, while rain poured relentlessly outside like my own rising doubts, I asked him about his life. I shared mine. He became my confidant, the voice in the storm. I held my breath, hanging on his every word. I had never felt so open, so alive. Each interaction was soaked in suspense. Then came the twist. One night, he texted that he had been looking for me, searching for someone who would understand the feelings he couldn't express. I felt the theorem of his life drawing closer to mine, and I could hardly breathe. What did that mean? And then, as if the universe decided my tiny world wasn't ready for love yet, he dropped a bombshell. You might think this is crazy, but I think we've met before. My heart plummeted. What could this mean? My gut churned. I was left with a shaking phone in my hand, the weight of his words crashing down. My heart thudded loudly in my chest, pounding a rhythm of confusion. I stared at the screen, the shadows crowding around me as more questions poured in. Who was he really? Hadn't I wanted to find connection, only to fall deeper into an enigma? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stared at his message for what felt like an eternity, each passing second amplifying the chaos in my mind. The storm outside lashed against the windows, as if mirroring my inner turmoil, a cacophony outside that matched the frantic pounding within. My pulse raced, caught between excitement and dread. How could he possibly have known me? Swallowing hard, I typed back, searching for clarity even as the words seemed to slip away like water through my fingers. What do you mean we've met before? My heart fluttered in my chest, an unsettling rhythm that questioned my desire for answers. His response came quickly, yet it ignited more confusion than it resolved. "Do you remember that summer, a few years ago? The art festival at the park?" Memories surged into my mind, a serene moment swept away by a wave of nostalgia. The sun was bright, laughter had echoed around me, and paint splattered the grass. But I couldn't recall faces. I only remembered the joyful moments, and yet something felt just out of reach. "I think I was there," but I hesitated, fingers trembling over the screen. "I don't remember you." "I was shy," he replied. "You wouldn't have noticed me in the crowd. I was the one painting by the fountain." Images collided within me, blurry snapshots of people mingling, laughter intertwined with creativity. The shadows of faces flitted in and out, leaving me grappling for something tangible. There was a boy, frail yet exuberant, hiding behind a canvas, but could it be him? I shivered at the thought, a mix of thrill and uncertainty flooding my veins. "I wish I could say I remember," I typed back slowly, hoping honesty would anchor our connection. "What was your painting about?" "Ah, that's the tricky part," he wrote. "It was about finding beauty in the blurred edges of life. I was a lonely kid back then, trying to make sense of everything. And in that moment, I felt a bond deepen, two souls knit together by threads of longing." He had a way with words, an unguarded quality that offered relief from my own struggles. We, too, were blurred edges attempting to find clarity in the chaos of our hearts. As hours blurred into the night, I found solace in our exchanges. We shared dreams, unfiltered laughter, and fears that had long held us captive. Each text was a lantern, illuminating my path through shadowy uncertainties. There was kindness in his vulnerability, a reflection of my own buried hopes. But as the evening wore on, unease nibbled at the edges of my newfound comfort. Why hadn't I seen him then? What did it mean that he felt a connection to me that I could not reciprocate? I was starting to want more, yet fear loomed like a specter. The next day weighed heavy on my heart. Even as I moved through my routine, remnants of our conversation lingered like a wistful melody. What if we were just ghosts of each other's past, colliding in this odd moment of reconnection? Late that afternoon, the sky darkened once more, as if it sensed my worries. My phone buzzed suddenly, breaking my reverie. "Can we meet?" His words were a whirlwind, bursting with anticipation and vulnerability. Trepidation seized me. There was an innocence in our texting that would shatter with a face-to-face meeting. Would he still be everything I thought he was, or would reality box us into who we truly were? I bit my lip, uncertainty draped around my shoulders like a heavy blanket. "I don't know," I hesitated before typing. "I mean, what if it ruins everything? What if we don't feel the same in person?" My heart twisted. The connection was intoxicating, and the thought of it collapsing was suffocating. He replied quickly, his words wrapping around my anxieties. "Maybe it's about more than just what we feel. Maybe it's about discovering each other, the good, the bad, everything in between. Whatever happens, we'll navigate it together." A sliver of hope broke through my trepidation, warming my doubts as I weighed his words. Could I trust him? His intentions felt genuine, yet I took a moment to breathe, calculating the leap. I thought of that boy at the art festival, cloaked in uncertainty, painting his vision. Was it boldness or madness that beckoned as I responded in a moment of clarity? "Okay, let's meet," I sent, heart racing wildly, igniting sparks of hope mingled with fear. As I pressed send, my phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't the anticipated reply. Instead, it was a notification from my mother, a call from just last night. As I answered, a chilling quiet suffocated the air around me, her voice tremulous as she spoke. "Honey, we need to talk. It's about your father." The words hung heavily in my heart, an unwelcome dagger piercing through everything I had just hoped for. My mind screamed for clarity as another wave of uncertainty crashed over me, threatening to drown our fragile connection before it even began. The air felt heavier than it had moments before, the weight of my mother's words anchoring me in place. "What about him?" I managed, a plea laced with dread slipping from my lips. Each beat of my heart echoed the growing dread within, a cacophony of fear that drowned out the rays of hope associated with my text to him. It's serious, my mother said, her voice fragile. Your father, he's been sick. The doctors are concerned. Her words twisted in my stomach, turning excitement into a bitter concoction of anxiety and helplessness. The delicate thread of my budding connection felt as if it were fraying, unraveling before it had even had the chance to blossom. I pressed my fingers to my temple, blinking against the swirl of emotions. What do you mean sick? How bad? My voice tremored, desperate for details even as I fought against the onslaught of fear that threatened to consume me. I don't know yet. He hasn't discussed the full extent with Methair doing more tests. There was silence, thick with unsaid fears. In that moment, all the hope I had nurtured over the last several hours felt as distant as the fading light beyond my window. I need you to come home, she pleaded. It's important, for both of us, now. The question tasted like ash in my mouth. The evening ahead had promised a newfound exploration, an open door to something real, yet now it felt like it was slamming shut. My heart ached, torn between the past and this newly forming connection. I could already envision the disappointment in his eyes, the shadow of expectation laid bare in our meeting, a poignant reminder of what might have been. If he needs Methan, yes, I whispered, grappling with the enormity of my decision. My heart plummeted, a sinking feeling echoing my torn affection. He'll be there soon, I said, my voice steadying as I fought against the churning storm inside me. As I hung up, the emptiness in my chest felt foreign and painful. I picked up my phone and stared at the screen, moments of our conversation flashing before me like an unnerving slideshow. I felt his anticipation spilling over our texts, a blend of longing and hope that seemed to beckon me forward. But what could I offer him now? A heart heavy with familial fears? With shaking hands, I typed quickly, pushing the emotions down deep inside, protecting him from my impending turmoil. I have to cancel, I wrote, praying somehow he would understand. Something urgent has come up, and I can't meet. I pressed send, dread pooling at my core. Almost instantly, my phone buzzed. My breath caught as his reply came through, a ribbon of hope tangled with confusion. Is everything okay? Did I say something wrong? No, I typed back, sadness piercing through each letter. It's nothing you did. I can't explain right now. Please let me know if you're alright, he replied. Each word was weighted, full of genuine concern that felt like a soothing balm against my pain, yet it only deepened the tightness in my chest. My resolve faltered as I stood in a room filled with silence, my heart swinging between longing and despair. Still, I felt a glimmer of kindness surging from his words, a reminder that amidst my chaos, his presence felt genuine. I inhaled slowly, memories of the art festival flickering in my mind, enchanting and elusive. What had we shared in those fleeting moments? My thoughts danced around the specter of unanswered questions. The boy by the fountain lingered, waiting for me to unravel this connection that felt both fragile and grounding, yet my mother's words loomed larger. I glanced at the wall where my father's photographs hung, capturing moments filled with laughter, each frame echoing a time untouched by illness. The thought of losing that solace threatened to chase away every hopeful flicker within me. In a moment of desperation, I reached for the phone once more, wishing I could pull him back into my world. I could almost hear his laughter filtering through the messages, envisioning his smile as it illuminated even the darkest corners of my thoughts. I needed him to understand this tug of war playing out in my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed again, and I felt a jolt of hope. Maybe this was my chance to explain, to let him know how real this connection was, to reassure him amidst the chaos that I still wanted him in my life. But my heart sank when I saw his message, a gut-wrenching twist of fate that shattered any plans I had made. I hope everything's okay. But if you need space, I get it. As I read those words, the chasm in my heart widened. I had opened a door, but now it threatened to close before I could walk through. A quiet panic gripped me, wringing my heart as I stared at the glowing screen. How could he get this impression? The urgency of my family's situation was pulling me away, but I felt like I was losing a part of myself along with it. With trembling fingers, I began to type, but the words evaded me like shadows. My heart raced as an insistent knocking echoed through my thoughts. My family needed me, but could I bear the thought of not pursuing this connection that felt so fleeting yet powerful? Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, this time with a call. It was him. I stared at the screen, the weight of the world pressing down as uncertainty gripped me. Take the leap, let him in, or huddle close to the safety of my family? The choice hallowed within me, echoing the truth that some connections change the course of our hearts forever. As I pressed accept, a turbulent wave of emotions swelled around me, binding hope and despair, love and loss gripping my heart tighter as I prepared for what lay ahead and the unforeseen consequence of answering. The call connected with a soft click, his voice resonating through the speaker. "Hey, I just wanted to check in. Is everything all right?" A lump formed in my throat as I fought to swallow it down, my breath hitching. "I am okay, but things are complicated right now." It felt disingenuous to paint over the chaos, but the image of my father, frail and lost, ignited a primal instinct to protect the few moments of light I'd found. "Complicated how?" He sounded concerned, and I wished I could reach through the phone to clasp his hand, to let him know that I was shattering beneath the weight of my responsibilities. "That I can't really talk about it," I muttered, the silence growing thick between us, every second stretching painfully longer. "Look," he said softly, "it's okay if you don't want to explain right now. Just know that I'm here for you. If there's anything you don't understand." I cut in, frustration mixing with sorrow. "I'm losing something important, and I can't keep pretending everything is fine." The words tumbled out as if they were made of glass, fragile and sharp, each shard reflecting a piece of my unraveling. There was a moment of quiet before he spoke again, his voice steady yet tender. "You can tell me. Whatever it is, we can face it together. I'm here." Those words hung in the air like an anchor, grounding me for a fleeting moment, and I closed my eyes, letting breath after breath flow in and out until the storm within calmed just enough to allow clarity. "It's my dad. He's not well. I have to go home. The doctors are worried, and I don't know how to handle it all." His silence lingered for a heartbeat longer than I expected. "Oh, I'm so sorry," he finally said, empathy pouring through each syllable. "What do you need? Can I come with you? I know it's a lot, but I want to support you." The warmth of his offer wrapped itself around me, a protective blanket that shrouded the cold air of uncertainty. "No, you shouldn't have to deal with my family's mess," I replied, a twinge of guilt emerging in my chest. "This is something I need to deal with on my own, maybe, but I want you to know I care about you, about everything you're going through," he said. "Please don't push me away. I know this is complicated, but facing it alone makes it worse." Each word resonated within me, unraveling the tightly wound strands of fear and sorrow. I glanced toward the photographs on the wall, the beloved, smiling faces of my father, suspended in moments that felt an eternity away. Would I be brave enough to keep these memories alive while navigating the uncertainty looming ahead? God, I wish I could push this all away, but I feel like I'm losing him. I can't just. My voice cracked, and I took a breath to steady myself, feeling the rawness swell within me. "I don't know how to balance this. That I know you're in a tough spot. But you don't have to carry it all. Let me be there for you, even if it's just to listen. You don't have to pretend everything is fine." His words fell upon me like a soft rain, refreshing and revitalizing yet heavy with the burden of reality. "Okay," I whispered, the vulnerability slipping from my lips like an unguarded secret. "Okay," but the momentary connection was fractured when I heard my mother's voice echoing from the other room, calling my name urgently. "I'm here, Mom." I shouted back, panic flaring as her voice tinged with desperation only fueled my anxiety. "What's wrong? Are you ready?" "Yeah, just a minute," I snapped, treating my reality with the impatience of a storm's arrival. "Stay," he urged, the softness of his voice fighting against the tension building within me. "Don't let them pull you away. You need to let this out, scream your fears, cry. Whatever you feel, just let it be." My heart raced with conflicting emotions. The truth of his words resonated, but the echo of obligation was a prison I couldn't escape. I can't. I have to go. I have to be there for my family, I replied, my voice trembling but resolute. A heavy sigh transmitted through the line, a mix of understanding and frustration. Then I'll be here when you're ready. Just don't shut me out. The call ended abruptly, and I sank against the wall, overwhelmed. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from him blinking on the screen. Take care of yourself. I believe in you. Those words, simple yet laced with heart, ignited something within me, a flicker of hope intertwined with the slow-burning dread of what was to come. I needed to face the inevitable heartbreak waiting outside my sanctuary. As I stepped towards the living room, each footfall felt like a weight heavier than the last. The door to my new connection had swung open, but I feared it would soon close forever. A realization pricked at the back of my mind. What if the last thread of light I uncovered was snuffed out by the shadows of illness and loss? I took a deep breath, reaching for the handle. Whatever awaited me beyond that threshold risked unraveling me further, yet I clenched my jaw, steeling myself against the uncertainty. The tangible hope hovering just out of reach felt almost cruel, but I had to foster it, a flicker to hold onto in the dark. As the door swung open, I stepped into the unfolding chaos, but with each heartbeat, my resolve to stand firm was overshadowed by the question that remained in the depths of my heart: would I have the strength to confront what lay ahead, both for my father and for the connection I could lose forever? What was I willing to sacrifice to keep my heart open? For now, there were no answers, only the weight of the unknown bearing down on my shoulders as I crossed into the tumultuous reality waiting for me. The air felt heavy as I stepped into the living room, a tense silence enveloping the space, broken only by the distant hum of the television playing a rerun that neither of my parents seemed to notice. My mom sat on the edge of the couch, her hands twisting in her lap like paper cranes losing their shape in the wind. The shadows under her eyes spoke of sleepless nights and worry too great to contain. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice cracking like a fragile whisper, both a question and a plea. "Yeah, just needed a moment," I managed to reply, my heart squeezing at the sight of her. "Your father's in the bedroom. I called you because he was asking for you," she said, her voice tinged with both hope and fear. "Okay." My feet felt like lead as I moved towards the closed door. Each step away from my own doubts was a desire to comfort, an instinct rooted deep in me. But with every turn of the doorknob, another wave of uncertainty washed over me. What awaited behind that door could either piece me together or shatter what was left of my heart. As I entered the dimly lit room, the sight of my father brought a thrust of pain to my chest. He lay in the hospital bed we'd set up beside the window, the sunlight streaking through the curtains and illuminating his frail frame. Once a figure of strength and laughter, he now seemed small, fragile, a reflection of all that was slipping away. "Hey, Dad," I said softly, crossing the room to his side. His eyes fluttered open, a flicker of recognition lighting up his face. "Hey, kiddo," he murmured, a smile struggling to surface amidst the exhaustion. "You came." "Of course, I came," I replied, bracing myself against the bed while my fingers brushed against his. I hesitated, swallowing a jumble of emotions that threatened to spill over. "How are you feeling?" He gave a faint chuckle, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Like a used rubber band. But you know, at least I have the most beautiful scenery," he said, motioning towards the window. I forced a laugh, the joy of his familiar teasing battling with the weight of grief in the air. "Thanks for that, Dad. I'll remember that one in case I need to yank my spirits up." Just then, my mother entered, carrying a tray with a glass of water and a few crackers. The moment she caught sight of my father's soft smile, a flicker of hope broke through her worry. I observed the way her shoulders relaxed just a fraction, a reminder of the love that existed, hidden beneath the layers of anxiety. "Look who's back with us," she said, her voice dripping with affection. "Your favorite nurse brought you a snack. How about that?" His eyes twinkled, and I tightened my grip around his hand, feeling the warmth fade but holding on tighter, portraying strength even when I felt so weak. The scene felt gentle, cradled between the veils of sorrow, yet the laughter hung precariously above us, as if the universe could pull it away at any moment, yet, deep within, beneath the surface of the poignant moment, the undertow of frustration brewed ominously. I was there, wrapped in that illusion of normalcy, but reality loomed like a clock ticking down, counting moments that wouldn't last forever. I forced those thoughts aside, focusing instead on filling the void with warmth. "Dad, remember that time we went camping and you swore you could start a fire from just 2 sticks?" I asked, my voice light and playful, hoping to nestle within the fabric of laughter, if only for a while. His eyes glimmered with the joy of a cherished memory. "Yeah. And I almost set the whole woods ablaze," he chuckled. "Never tried to be Robin Hood again after that." "Pretty sure you scared all the squirrels into hibernation," I chimed in, as both my mother and I shared a laugh, just enough to keep our spirits from sinking under the weight of the moment. But as my dad looked at us, that flicker dimmed, and I caught it fear reflected at the corners of his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the fragility encasing our laughter. It stirred a tenderness inside me, threatening to erupt into tears. "Can I ask for a favor?" he said suddenly, his voice lowering as if he were revealing a great secret. "Anything, Dad." "Promise me that you'll take care of your mom once I'm stop it," I interrupted, my voice shaky, unwilling to venture into that territory. "We're not going there." "It's important," he insisted, his grip firm on my hand. "I need to know that you'll be there for her." "Don't talk like that." My words were more defiance than comfort. "You're going to get through this." "I believe that." "Belief is important, but remember, love is stronger than fear," he said, holding my gaze with a steadiness that pierced right through to my soul. "Well, figure it out together," I promised, my voice steadier, but within me, an echo of worry answered back, pleading to be heard. I had to be strong for them, but the reality of together felt like a half-formed dream choking in uncertainty. A part of me longed to reach for the connection I had felt earlier, his voice on the phone still resonating as a beacon of support. Would he still wait there for me, amidst this unrelenting tide? As uncertainty coiled around my heart, I felt a warmth brush against my hand, my father squeezing it gently. It felt like a lifeline, yet it portended the gravity of what each passing moment could mean. In the midst of our shared laughter, a new message blinked on my phone, pulling me slightly away from this fragile world I'd been trying to encase within bubble wrap. "Just checking on you. Let me know if you need anything." The kindness tucked itself into my being as I fought to balance this flicker of connection against the weight of my reality. But the flicker became a flame inside me. And then, the door creaked open tentatively, and a nurse stepped in with a serious expression. "I need you all to step out for a moment," she said, and my heart lurched at the authority in her tone. "Why? What's wrong?" My voice raised, panic clenching at my throat. "That we need to assess his vitals. Just a quick checkup." I glanced between my father and the nurse, my heart raced, a million thoughts spiraling. I couldn't stay separated from him, not for another moment. As the door closed behind me, I felt a sudden rush of warmth, followed by the shiver of the unknown creeping beneath my skin. What if this moment was the last? What if the flicker of laughter was just the calm before a storm? I clutched my phone tighter, longing to reach out, frantically searching for hope in this tide of sorrow, grappling with the thought that love might be the only truth worth fighting for. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting an orange glow through the window, infusing the room with warmth that felt surreal against the oppressive shadow looming over us. I was seated on a chair in the hallway, my back pressed against the cool wall, fingers absent-mindedly tapping against my phone screen, waiting for it to come alive with some sign, some text that could tether me to my fleeting reality. Mom stood a few paces away, her eyes fixated on the closed door, as if willing it to open with a single glance. I could sense the swell of emotions within her. It was a turbulent mix of fear and hope. One minute, she'd be drawing in a breath as though preparing for something monumental, and the next, the air would hiss out in a mist of exasperation. It felt like an unending cycle of anticipation, consuming each of us in different ways. "I know he's going to be okay," she finally said, her voice wavering. The statement hung in the air, trembling between us, seeking confirmation. He has to be. I nodded, although uncertainty ticked away in my chest. He will be, I echoed, but my voice felt weightier than the truth I was grasping for. It wasn't that I didn't want to believe it. It was just how could I fully commit to hope when every second with him felt like sand slipping through our fingers. In that quiet fracture of time, a nurse emerged, and my heart leaped as she approached. I stood, feeling every bit the fragile structure waiting to either collapse or rise. He's stable for now, she said, but the word somehow lacked the reassurance I craved. You can go in again, but keep it brief. As I pushed through the door and stepped back into the dim light of my father's room, I caught a glimpse of his face, the layers of pained expressions etched into his skin. My chest tightened further as his eyes lit up momentarily upon seeing me, yet the faint smile he offered was like the flickering light of a dying candle. Hey, Dad. I hurried to his side, desperate to bridge the distance that had formed so suddenly. How are you feeling? He shifted slightly but winced, a reminder of the fragility that now defined him. Like a tired old man, he quipped lightly, though the joke felt heavier than ever before. But I'm glad you're here. I am glad too, I said, my voice barely escaping as I wrestled with the emotions roiling within. I couldn't shake that feeling of impending loss. It was hovering, waiting for the right moment, and I had to believe I could fend it off. My mother entered soon after, her smile dimming as she caught the relentless shadows under his eyes. I brought your favorite yogurt, she said, though her hands shook slightly as she held the small cup. Just what the doctor ordered, he replied, coaxing a grateful look out of her, yet I could feel the tension crackling in the air. How many lasts would we confront today? As she opened the yogurt, the familiar fragrance wafted through, momentarily suspending the dire atmosphere in the room. I watched as she took a spoonful and carefully offered it to him. He tasted it, and for a brief moment, the tension seemed to lift, replaced by memories of family dinners and laughter echoing through the halls of our home. See, you've still got some bite left in you, my mother said, a glimmer of relief mingled with urgency etched across her face. Just saving my full appetite for when we go fishing again, he grinned, but I sensed an underlying layer that curled around his words, a longing for what might never come. Yet just as we began to laugh again, the nurse returned, knocking lightly before stepping in. We're due for another checkup, she said, glancing at my laptop resting on the nearby table. You mind if I borrow that? Sure, I stammered, surprised at her abruptness but wanting to help. What do you need it for? Just need to go over some logs and input new information, she replied, her tone brisk yet kind. I could feel her professionalism cocooning me, as though shielding me from the raw, impending anxiety of the moment. As I watched her gather the device, the text message that had chimed on my phone earlier resurfaced in my mind. Just checking on you. Let me know if you need anything. I reached for my phone again, uncertain if reaching out meant courage or folly. As the nurse turned, she gave my father a gentle smile and said, "You are surrounded by love. Keep fighting." Fighting. That word echoed hauntingly amidst the silence that re-established itself. I felt like I was caught in a tumult, clinging to every hospital site, every word, every moment that felt precious yet slippery. Dad, what if, I ventured, struggling to give voice to the questions choking me. What if you don't get to go fishing again? At the question, my father's eyes grew somber, like the weight of the world that had suddenly been laid bare. I held my breath, anticipation swirling as our hearts shared a new space, the kind unfilled with laughter but raw with recognition. He took a moment, gathering himself before answering. Life is about the fishing trips and the quiet moments shared, but it is also about the legacy we leave behind. I didn't know how to respond, my heart aching under the pressure of his words as they cascaded through my thoughts. I wanted to ask about that legacy, about what he would want for me, for my mother. Would he leave us with memories or something greater? But as I opened my mouth, ready to dive deeper into this raw vulnerability, a sudden alarm blared from the other room, sharp and grating against the stillness. My heart leaped into my throat. The nurse dropped my laptop, rushing outside. "Stay here," she commanded. In their absence, an uneasy silence enveloped us, ready to suffocate my thoughts and filter all hope into despair. I turned back to my father, whose face was shadowed with concern. "Dad," I stammered, "that I am here." "Just breathe," he said soothingly, but the uncertainty in his eyes betrayed the strength he still tried to portray. In that moment, every whisper of heartache came rushing forth anew. I had wanted answers, clarity, a promise that everything would be all right. Expectations collided with the chaos spiraling just outside that door. Then the door swung open, a doctor stepping in with an urgency that sent the flicker of hope crashing into the void. My breath caught, anticipation replaced with a sense of impending doom, as I realized the flurry of medical chaos would lead to something I had feared. Not every journey ends near that proverbial fishing hole, and as the doctor's gaze met mine, a single, heavy breath escaped, meth kind that hinted at change, a jarring truth I was not quite ready to face. The sterile scent of antiseptic intensified as the doctor's expression darkened. I felt the world shrink around me, every breath constricting as though the air itself was engaged in a battle between hope and fear. The words teetered on the edge of existence, and as he cleared his throat, they felt like stones plummeting into a bottomless abyss. "Can you please step out for a moment?" he requested gently, but the thunder of his tone echoed in my ears, each syllable a thunderclap of dread. "Why?" I demanded, desperation creeping into my voice. The sight of my father's anxious face steeled my resolve against the chaos swirling in my chest. "What's happening?" "Is he just a moment, please," the doctor interjected firmly yet compassionately, with eyes that spoke of shared fear. It was all I could do to keep from screaming as I glanced back at my father, seeing the way his brow furrowed in concern, mirroring my own turmoil. "Stay here," he said again, more softly this time. "It'll be okay." "How can you say that?" I whispered, my voice trembling, punctuated by a heart that pulsed with uncertainty. "What does that even mean?" My father offered a smile that felt more like a plea than a promise. "Trust me. I'm not going anywhere," he said, but the quiver of his lips hinted at the cracks in his bravado. Torn between obeying the doctor and staying beside my father, I finally turned to leave, a sense of dread dragging me out of the room. Outside, the hallway was abuzz with hurried footsteps and hushed conversations. The reality outside the confines of our room contrasted starkly with the emotion-heavy air that hung within. I pressed my back against the cool wall again, heart racing, desperately clinging to the idea that this couldn't be happening. The world around me blurred, sounds fading into a distant hum as my thoughts spiraled. How do we prepare for the unthinkable? Would I ever again experience the moments that defined my father and me? A light touch on my shoulder jolted me from my haze. It was the nurse from before, the one who had borrowed my laptop with such quiet kindness. "It's tough in there," she said gently, her eyes empathizing with the storm within me. Will he be okay?" I asked, clinging to something, anything that might offer solace. She hesitated, and that second felt like eons, pulling taut the string of hope anchoring my heart. "He's fighting. But it's important to remember you have to fight too. For yourself. It's okay to feel overwhelmed." A sudden rush of emotion bubbled up as I leaned against the wall, squeezing my eyes shut against the impending tide of tears. "I just don't want to lose him," I confessed, each word dripping with a pain that felt insurmountable. "I understand," she said softly. "But sometimes losing someone doesn't mean losing all of them. Remember, the love you share, the moments you've built, they never truly go away. They stay with you." As her words flowed over me, a flicker of light pierced the suffocating darkness. Perhaps there was something eternal about love, maybe it could endure through the haze of grief, but just as quickly as that thought came, it was shattered by the sudden reappearance of the doctor. His demeanor had shifted from solemn to urgent. "We need to take action," he said. "It's getting more complicated, and we need to prepare your father for potential surgery." "Prepare him?" I breathed, horror painting my expression. "Yes. It's a risk, but it might be his best chance," he replied, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a brush with hope arrayed against the dread. Although brimming with questions, the notion of action off fighting felt oddly comforting. Will he know? Will he have a say? I pushed, desperate to clutch at every shred of control I could still wield. The doctor paused. In an ideal scenario, yes. He will be alert for the discussion, but given the current circumstances, it might shift quickly. We need to decide soon. Will you be with him? Nodding fiercely, I urged, I'll go in. As I followed him back through the doors, the room collided with emotion, Anumi mother's anguish spilling into the air as she remained perched by my father's side. I could see the uncertainty consuming her, the boundless love she poured forth fighting against the shadows that flickered in his eyes. Dad, they need to talk to you, I said steadily, forcing myself to gather strength as I crossed the distance. He looked at me, confusion knitting his brow. What's going on? There's a chance we can fight this, I replied, each word becoming a rite of passage through our raw reality. In that brief exchange, I sensed a shift, the air vibrated with unspoken hope. Well, do it together, he declared, a fierce spark igniting momentarily in his gaze. Just like we always have, yet as we navigated the road ahead, intimacy bloomed under the way of uncertainty, shadows lurked just beyond the walls of our love, whispering ominous things. And as I prepared to hear the plans unfold, the pounding of my heart echoed the same question that had taken residence in my mind: what would it mean if we failed? Just then, the door swung open again, and a nurse entered, her face turned to the floor. In her hand, she held an envelope, sealed and unmistakably significant. Is this for you? She asked, and my heart dropped, sensing instinctively that the contents of that envelope might carry answers we weren't prepared to face, and as I took it from her hand, reality froze, and I realized that the next moment could change everything. My hand trembling, I broke the seal, even as hope waged war against a creeping fear of what awaited me within. The moment my fingers grazed the envelope, an unsettling charge coursed through my body. The sterile scent of antiseptic lingered around me, but what was more potent was the weight of possibility bound within that small piece of paper. It felt as though the world had shifted on its axis at that exact moment, and I stood teetering on the edge of an abyss. Open it, my father whispered, the urgency in his voice matching the frantic rhythm of my heart. I glanced at him, anxiety etched across his features, and swallowed hard. Despite the chaos brewing inside, I sought strength in his gaze. His steadfastness was my anchor. Taking a deep breath, I slid my finger under the flap and tore it open slowly. The parchment felt heavier than it should have, and I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting that whatever news lay within would be stolen away by some unseen force. My mother, oblivious, continued to clutch my father's hand, her face a careful mask of fragile hope and fear. I unfolded the paper, revealing a note that seemed to shimmer hauntingly in the muted light of the room. The words, however, sent a chill down my spine. Dear name, I read aloud, the voice trembling from my lips. If you receive this letter, it means circumstances have changed. Please know that I am here for you, always just a phone call away. But there are things I haven't been able to share, things you must hear. My heart raced, my mind racing with a million questions. Who was this even meant for? The letter was devoid of any context, but even so, I couldn't shake the sense of urgency spilling from the words. What does it mean? I mumbled, glancing between my parents, praying for some semblance of clarity. Before they could comprehend its gravity, a ringing sound erupted through the room, an unexpected interruption to the thick veil of tension. It was my phone buzzing on the bedside table, the screen illuminating with a name that nearly made me drop the letter: Clara. A rush of memories flooded my mind. Clara, with her sharp wit and warm heart, always meeting me with understanding when I needed it most. But why was she calling now, when every fiber of my being was tangled in a web of crisis? Why, yes. I answered, my voice unsteady, as I rushed past the nurse still standing, her face pale and wide-eyed. Hey. I know you're busy, but I really need to talk. Can we meet? The urgency in her voice made my stomach lurch. Now? Clara, my dad is, I know, and I'm so sorry to reach out like this. There was a hesitation, a pause that weighed heavy with what I sensed was pressing urgency. Please. I have something important to tell you. It can't wait. I looked at my father, who was watching me with concern, something unspoken passing between us. I wanted nothing more than to cling to him, hide in the sanctuary of our shared strength. But a flicker of intrigue ignited within me, a yearning to understand the elusive connection between this letter and Clara's ominous request. "Okay," I said finally, mind racing as I nodded toward my mother. "I'll be there as soon as I can. I'll see you soon," she promised, and the moment I hung up, tension surged through me. Promise of answers, of clarity, yet still shrouded in uncertainty. The nurse cleared her throat softly, pulling my attention back to the present. "Everything okay?" she asked, and I hesitated, holding out the letter I just read. "Do you know what this means?" I questioned, but her solemn face didn't provide the comfort I was searching for. "I am afraid not. There are many things going on in the world outside these walls. Sometimes letters bring both hope and confusion." Something in her expression, perhaps a hint of sorrow, made me think she recognized the duality of pain and potential intertwined in that letter. "Just remember to take care of yourself, too," she added, hands gently resting on my shoulders, grounding me momentarily. It felt unusual, her warmth, her understanding amidst the chaos. For a fleeting moment, I felt seen, the weight of my struggle shared, if only momentarily. "Thanks," I murmured, and I turned back to my father, wrapping my fingers around the note once more, binding myself to all that it might hold. "Dad, I'll be back soon." As I left the room, my heart pounded against my ribcage, each step pulling me further into a storm I couldn't yet comprehend. I stepped into the corridor, which now felt like a chasm echoing with the anxieties of so many lives interwoven with unspoken stories, and as I walked, an unfamiliar fear bloomed within. The feelings that had weighed so heavily before were now joined by the weight of secrets, the unknown pressing down like a dense fog. I couldn't shake the feeling that the hour ahead might unravel new threads of heartbreak, or worse, redefine everything I thought I knew. Clara was waiting for me beyond those hospital walls, her voice promising to unveil something crucial. But the dawning realization loomed overhead like a dark cloud. Perhaps knowing would come at a price I wasn't ready to pay. What if, amid all the camaraderie of love and shared struggle, the answers I sought would shatter the fragile illusion of safety I'd been clinging to? And just as that thought settled, a familiar dark figure darted past me in the corridor, their silhouette vanishing into the crowd, leaving me with a haunting sense of familiarity. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, a message this time, tinged with urgency, and a name I hadn't expected. "You're not the only one who cares." The wall ID built around my heart began to tremble, and just like that, the delicate fabric of my world threatened to unravel yet again. As I stepped into the bustling world outside the hospital, the weight of the envelope in my pocket was a constant reminder that uncertainty clung to me like a second skin. The air was thick with the mingled scents of summer blooms and city exhaust, but my mind was fixed solely on Clara and the cryptic message that hovered over my head like a storm cloud. "Where are you?" I muttered under my breath, scanning the street. I felt exposed, as if everyone around me was privy to the turmoil I carried. I suddenly wished for the comforting rhythm of my father's heartbeat beside me, the steady pulse that assured me I was not alone. But this world felt undeniably solitary. Christina, my mother's nurse, had uttered those words of caution. Sometimes letters bring both hope and confusion. I couldn't decide which prevailed in my heart now. The desire to uncover the truth was battling against the instinct to stay sheltered, shielded from whatever disturbing revelations awaited me. As I walked toward our rendezvous point, a small cafe with an eclectic collection of chairs and mismatched tables, I felt distant echoes of Clara's laughter ripple through my memory. Each burst of joy felt like a tiny flame flickering within me, urging me toward her presence. But was this reunion merely a trip down memory lane, or a doorway into deeper shadows? Clara was sitting at a table near the window, her familiar shoulders hunched with tension. The moment our eyes connected, I felt an electric spark, familiarity wrapped in fear. I joined her, noting the way her fingers fidgeted with her coffee cup like she was holding on to her thoughts, hesitant to unleash them all at once. "You look," I started, but Clara silenced me with a wave of her hand, her gaze directed toward the street outside, as if searching for something she feared might emerge. "I need to be honest with you about something," she began, her voice dropping to a whisper. The seriousness hung in the air, palpable and thick. My heart picked up its pace again, a quickened rhythm urging me to stay grounded. "I found something, and it relates to what's happening with your family," she said, looking both resolute and terrified. It's about that letter. I leaned forward, urgency curdling my curiosity. What are you talking about, Clara? What do you know? There was someone I used to know, who's been watching over your situation from a distance. She hesitated, licking her lips anxiously. It's complicated. How? I interrupted, feeling the heat of frustrated anticipation rise within me. Your father, he's linked to something that it might explain why he's been in that hospital. She almost whispered it, as though saying the words too loudly could shatter the fragile moment, the deceptive calm before the storm. What? How do you know this? My voice started to tremble, a mixture of panic and dread washing over me. I've been investigating a few things for my own personal reasons, and there were whispers about your dad. It's connected to. She paused, clearly grappling with what to say next. It's connected to people who don't play by the rules. These connections could be dangerous, and I think they may explain what's going on with your family. My heart sank with an urgency that felt suffocating. You're scaring me, Clara. What do you mean dangerous? What are you trying to say? There's a chance that. She hesitated again, taking a deep breath. There's a chance your family is in deeper than you realize. I know it sounds drastic, but I felt it was important for you to know. Emotions tangled inside Meshach, fear, anger, and an undeniable sense of betrayal. So you knew? Even before I got that letter? You just decided to drop this on me now? No. I wanted to tell you earlier, but I couldn't get the information I needed. It's all a jumbled mess, and you could have at least warned me about it. I'm dealing with enough as it is. My voice was louder than I intended, drawing the attention of nearby patrons. But shame, like an unwelcome friend, washed over me. I am sorry, she whispered, visibly stricken. I thought I could figure this out. Without involving you. But now I can't take it back. The few moments of hope tethered between us had begun to fray. I turned away, my mind spiraling into a cyclone of chaos. The cafe faded into a blurred backdrop as memories flowed unchecked. What if she was right? What if my father's health issues were part of a larger, more sinister reality that had been lurking beneath the surface all along? What else had been hidden from me? From the depths of my thoughts, a text message unexpectedly chimed, snapping me back. I glanced at my phone, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. The message from before was now glowing on my screen, cached wounding, "You're not the only one who cares." But this time, it was followed by something more alarming: "Meet me at the park. You need to understand the truth." A name followed, one I hadn't seen in years. My breath caught in my throat as panic coursed through me. Suddenly, I wasn't simply balancing between uncertainty and fear, I was entangled in a web of secrets I had no intention of unraveling, secrets that could turn my world upside down once more. "Clara," I heard my voice waver. "I have to go. I need to follow this lead." With her eyes wide and pleading, she reached for my arm. "Wait. Don't do this alone. You don't know what you could be stepping into." But stepping into the unknown felt inevitable, rippling with urgency like a tide pulling me under. I could see it clearly now, the flickering shadows that hugged the edges of my family, the strange connections whispering in my ear. With a final glance over my shoulder, I dashed out of the cafe, propelled by the storm brewing inside me. The truth awaited me like a landslide, ready to cascade down and reshape everything I thought I knew. And as I stepped into the park, the frantic beats of my heart echoing in rhythm with my frantic thoughts, something deep inside warned me, the revelations would come at a price far greater than I anticipated. The sun hung low, casting a desperate glow through the trees, weaving intricate patterns on the ground as I approached the park. My heart raced, each step a thunderous chorus of uncertainty. Clara's words were shadows dancing in my mind, a haunting echo that met the urgency coursing through me: "You need to understand the truth." The park was familiar, a place where laughter mingled with the rustle of leaves, where memories of childhood splendor anchored my soul in innocence. But today, it felt different, charged with tension, each breeze gripping me with an unshakable dread. I spotted the figure standing by the fountain, his attire blending seamlessly into the surroundings, but his energy pierced the air around him like a beacon. It was Michael, a childhood friend I had lost touch with, but whose name flickered frequently in my memory. "Michael," I called, the syllables crumbling under the weight of anticipation. He turned, his expression a mix of concern and relief, as though he had been waiting for this moment to unravel. "That I didn't think you'd come," he said, his voice a low murmur, embedding itself between our past and present. "Neither did I. But Clara said there are things I need to know about my family. About my dad." The urgency spilled from my lips in shaky breaths, and the tremor in my voice belied the strength I desperately wanted to project. "That I know. And you deserve to understand. But it's complicated," he began, his eyes glinting with an intensity that set my heart on high alert. "What I'm about to tell you could change everything. Tell me." I almost shouted, a sense of panic enveloping me. "I've already heard too many whispers. Nobody has been honest with me. I need to know." With a quick glance around for prying eyes, he leaned closer. "Your father, he's not simply sick. This has roots that dig deep into a world much darker than just medical issues. The whispers are true, he's involved with people, very dangerous people." His words coiled around me, squeezing tight as my throat constricted. I took a step back, grappling with disbelief. "What are you talking about?" "My father would never." "You don't understand," he interrupted, firmly taking my shoulders. "He's been protecting you from it, shielding you from a life that could expose you to unimaginable risks. There are debt secrets from years ago." The way he looked at me dared me to grasp the gravity of what he said, as my mind raced through a backdrop of my father's laughter, the warmth of his embrace. How could this man be tangled in woven shadows, debts? I murmured, struggling to wrap my mind around the implications. "What do you mean, people he once trusted turned dangerous?" And as his health declined, those connections struggled, forcing secrets into the open like fireflies drawn into light. "They want payback. There's more to his illness than a simple ailment, it's a diversion, a cover for what's coming." Each word felt like a blow, stacking on everything I had feared but tried to deny. "Payback for what? How does this even begin to make sense?" I pressed, my emotions simmering dangerously close to the surface. "That I don't have all the answers, I'm just here to warn you. If you stay close to him without understanding the depth of this danger, you could become a target too," he said, his voice steady yet haunting. The weight of his words settled heavily, stealing the resolve that flickered within me. But just as I began to process it all, my phone buzzed, a frantic call from my family slicing through the air. My father's voice echoed across my mind, searching for balance between love and fear where there was none. "I have to go," I gasped, suddenly paralyzing consequence rooting me to the ground. "I have to protect him from whatever risk is hanging over our heads." The urgency pulled at me, but Michael shook his head. "You can't. Knowing the truth is only the beginning. The fight to keep your family safe is what follows, and it starts here." "Here?" I echoed, confusion mixing with determination. "How can we fight? I've only just found out." "You mean to say I'm supposed to take on all of this?" "It's your only choice," he urged. "If you return without confronting this now, it could be the last time your family gathers." I dared to look beyond the park, my heart longing toward the awaiting chaos beyond its serenity. In a moment of clarity that sparkled like sunlight filtering through branches, I realized that simply knowing would not suffice. I'd have to prepare myself for a fight that adorned my father with secrets, dangerous ones, and forge the line between love and obligation with unimaginable courage. "Then tell me everything," I demanded, breath steadying as resolve anchored deep in my core. "Let's figure this out together." As Michael began revealing the tangled cords of truth, I locked eyes with the flickers of potential danger wrapped around my family. But a deeper realization surged within me: love was worth the fight, and no matter the shadows that loomed ahead, light could always cut through the darkness. The new knowledge birthed a different conversation, one swirling with hidden depths as we plotted our next moves, preparing to step into the uncharted territories of a tumultuous battlefield, weaving the fabric of hope through the chaos. I felt the stirring connection insidito, the love I fought for, to the family that held my heart, and most importantly, to the truth that would see us through the storm, no matter how fierce. And it would all begin with that resolve, with the words we shared, bursting forth like fire, words that would wrap around me and my family, all of us ready to confront the tumult was ahead. We are here for each other, no matter the cost.